Hey, all. Wanted to weigh in on the Bachelor Gate controversy that is blowing up DFS Twitter. Um, I'm going to start with recommending Dan Back's podcast today. I don't know if you guys haven't checked it out. You should check it out. It sums up everything pretty perfectly in my opinion. It's like 25 minutes long too, so it's not too long. I liked it on my Twitter, so you can find it there, or just go to this page and check it out. He brings up some interesting points, and really quickly, if for some reason you don't know what happened, the two of the contestants from Bachelor are a married couple, and they won last week's NFL Millie Maker. And the allegation is that they colluded to put in 300 lineups, circumventing the 150 lineup limit rule set by the sites. And as Dan says in this podcast, technically that would be multi-accounting in his opinion, or just hypothetically, if this is all true. It's probably more likely that they just ran, or he just ran 150 lineups, then X'd out the QBs, ran another 150 lineups, then put them into two separate CSVs, and then clicked enter. Not that makes it any better, but I would call this multi-accounting scandal, not a collusion scandal. And he also mentions in there, and this was kind of my first thoughts on it, was that some people he's talked to was that this guy might be a whale, which in that case, we kind of want him to win because he will dump, half a million back into the economy in 3 months, and the other half goes to the government anyway. So, it's I'm definitely not defending anyone here, but like it's better to have someone like this who plays all the time, and there's a solid chance that they're not very good, putting that money back in the DFS community so we all have a chance at it, as opposed to some random guy gets a free $25 entry and wins the milli, 1.5 million shot, and then takes out 98% of it, 99% of it, and then plays a couple more times, and then he's over it, taking all that money out of the economy. So if this guy does end up keeping his money, he's probably gonna dump a decent amount back in it, is my guess. Could be wrong. But if you're a negative EV player, putting in 300 lineups is worse than putting in 150 lineups. You're just gonna. I know this turned out this guy won, or girl, or whatever the truth is of it. I showed in one of my other videos, if you're a losing player, the more entries you put in, the more money you're gonna lose. So another point he mentioned was that the sites will try to avoid more regulation on this, and I hope so. Certainly, that's the biggest problem I'm seeing here. There's a bunch of problems here, but just another problem is we do not want the state to get involved again. The more, a lot of people think that they're going to come in and save the day, right? That's not how it works. They'll just slow things down, raise the cost of doing business, and put on more caps that have nothing to do with saving DFS at all. So I do hope DFS, the sites, somehow figure out how to do damage control and keep the states, out of it this time. And which is honestly the best. This reminds me of all the poker scandals back in the day, and I guess this latest one, I haven't played poker in years, but this latest one with Joey Ingram, The players in the gambling world are the best sleuths. They're the best detectives. They're the ones who actually catch the bad guys. It's not often that it's the websites themselves, even in poker. So one of the solutions here is to make this as transparent as possible. And if you think back to the Ultimate Bet poker site scandal, the reason that they got caught was because the site it was such a controversy that they released all the data to the poker players and said, "Here, look, there's no problem." And the players, know what they're doing. They dove into it and found out, where are found out. You have to look into the Ultimate Bet scandal to get all the details, but found out why the guy and how the guy was cheating, and they eventually got him. So we have an advantage in DFS on DraftKings because they let you download the CSVs. Poker never did that. And I don't know if they do it now, but so what this does bring up is FanDuel should add that CSV download now. I think they gotta give up with this. I think they were trying to protect the players by not having all that information out there, and I can understand that point of view. But it's really at this point, if these guys are playing, and others are playing multi-accounting on FanDuel, it's going to be a lot harder to catch them. So I think they have to kind of give up that old school mentality of just trying to keep everything as private as possible. And they need to add a CSV. I think that should come out of this. I think the terms and conditions from both sites should, codify. Hopefully they can get something in stone and make an example of somebody. I'm not saying these people specifically. Obviously I don't know all the details, but it seems like the consensus in just the casual DFS player is that all pros cheat and there's collusion everywhere. And I can tell you that there's not. I've never even been approached by any of the top players to collude. I think it's a little overblown. But that doesn't mean that they should not release the CSVs on FanDuel, and that with these people who figure this out need to be applauded, right? We need to encourage the community to continue to be the detectives, because the sites, they'll do it. They're not like maliciously trying to do anything. I just don't think that's their top priority, and the players' top priority is to not get. Definitely one of the priorities is to not get cheated. So to make it as transparent as possible, so the players can police themselves, and to get these terms and services, spelled out with some actual cases, right, that they've dealt with, and be like, nope, see this case in the past, this is how we handle it, now this is how we're going to handle it going forward. On the controversy itself, there's plenty of evidence out there, and you could listen to Dan's podcast. He sums it up pretty perfectly for me. But I wanted to talk more about, as a player, what can you do to protect yourself? And he mentions this. He's pretty convinced that a lot of the players are colluding. And he mentions an interesting point. He says, especially in like the 3 max ones, you could do it, or smaller amount of players. Most people are concerned with the multi-counting or collusion of 300 entries or 450 entries or something like that. But I think he's kind of more spot on, where if you're playing against in a 3 max entry against 2 players who are going to split their prize pool, and let's say there's 12 plays that night in an NBA, and then one takes 6 and the other takes 6, and they overlap on a couple players and scoop you. That could definitely happen. It reminds me back in the poker days before they had the Zoom poker and everything. I for sure was getting, in my opinion, I can never prove it, but I was almost sure that other players were cheating me. I was pretty much all the poker scandals where there was like money returned to the players. I was involved in all those and got money back. But I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the higher stake professionals. They were at the very least soft playing each other and hard playing against me. And I haven't played poker since Black Friday, so this is so long ago, but this reminds me of that similar situation where I could tell that they would never 3-bet each other, but, they'd 3-bet me, a high percentage of the time, and they would never play a big pot together, and it was so much easier in poker. I'm sure they were just direct messaging each other or whatever, but once poker came to the random matching Zoom poker model, all that stuff kind of went out the window, and I made a video on how I think DFS should do that. So I think they could protect players that way by randomly matching up people in head-to-heads all the way up to 10 max double ups or something like that. You could still leave the lobbies open for the people who wanna play, pick their opponent or whatever, have at it. But how are you going to collude in a three max entry when you have no guarantee of playing with your partner, right? So that's another reason why I think we should move over to that random matching model that I advocate for. Let's see what else we got here. I just want to mention this briefly with sports betting and poker, getting legalized, and it's rapidly approaching that those things are going to be pretty much every state, and they're going to get a lot bigger. Not like back in the poker boom, but as if you're a player who's kind of coming up or just getting your feet wet in gambling, these type of collusion opportunities and multi-accounting to get all the bonus hunting, stuff like that's going to come up where it's like questionable decision to make. And I would say, having gambled most of my adult life, is you should pass all those opportunities up. And I'm not even saying just because, I'm morally just or you should be morally just. I'm just saying in the long run, it's not going to help you. You don't want to risk the chance of getting your account banned. And now that it's going to be regulated, who knows? Maybe they'll go to like the Las Vegas model where they ban you at one casino and then they tell everyone else, and then you're banned in all the casinos, right? For what? For like some bonus chasing, extra $100 or something like that. You're going to be much better off taking your shots at improving and just studying and learning as much as you can and trying to come up with something. And you could say, well, this guy won $1 million. Well, how am I ever going to win $1 million? Yeah, granted, but like I said, I don't really believe this guy won $1 million off of his edge. I think he just got lucky. Sure, having 300 entries, it's not like a lot of amateur DFSers think, where it's like, oh no, there's only so many combinations, and he's going to hit one if he has 300 entries. I think I've played like every single milli maker in every sport for like 4 or 5 years, and I'm assuming Alex Baker has too, and me and him both have never won one. So we put in 300 entries every time. Why don't we win? Right? It's not that easy. But either way, so the point is don't waste your time going after these like small little cheating things if like your roommate says to you, hey, I want to play, I don't know anything about sports, let's collude or something like that. Don't bother. Be like, man, we're just gonna get banned. It's not worth it. I'm trying to get good here. The risks they're just not worth it. Even though it appears like they're not banning anyone, it's eventually going to happen. Um, so let's see what else. What else did I want to mention here? I think that might be it.